Friend from the media, good afternoon. Welcome to the 79th press conference of Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region. I am Xu Guixiang, spokesman of the People's Government of Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region. Today, the theme of the conference is the COVID response situation in Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region. With me here is Mr. Irzad Zada, Deputy Director General of the Health Commission of Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region. And also we will have 9 people joining us via video link. They are Deputy Director General. They are the Chief Expert on Epidemiology of Xinjiang CDC, Mr. Li Mingjian, the Governor of Ili Kazakh Autonomous Prefecture, Irshat Tursunbay, and Altagul Juma, Chairwoman of the Ili Women's Federation, Qiao Xuegang, Executive Vice Mayor of Yining City, Ili Prefecture, Dilmurat Nurahmat, Vice President of Xinhua Hospital of Ili Prefecture, Sainam Tuniaz, Director of Jidlidik Community, Dolat Bag Subdistrict of Yining City, physician from Xinjiang Children's Hospital, Mr. Elijan Tohonjan, and Aliya Karim from Tashkuruk Township, Yining City, and Sultana Mamuk from Jiefanglu Subdistrict, Yining City. Recently, some areas in Xinjiang was hit by COVID-19, posing serious impacts on the normal work life, as well as the health and safety of people of all ethnic groups. The governments of all levels in Xinjiang put people and life and safety first and stand together with the people in fighting COVID-19 and meeting the challenges. And we have made much efforts for an early victory against COVID-19. We believe that the right to life and health is the most fundamental human right. Without life and safety and without a healthy body, it is impossible to realize any other rights. And it's very plain. Facing the complex COVID situation, the government in Xinjiang did not sit idle. Rather, we have conducted resolute fights against the virus and stand together with the people to safeguard their life and health. It's an act of justice that is responsible for the people and shows the mission and aspiration of a responsible government and has received positive comments from the international community. However, some anti-China elements and some media, regardless of the efforts of the government at all levels, and regardless of the hard work of thousands of community workers, and regardless of the understanding of the people in Xinjiang, they distort the normal anti-COVID measures as violent law enforcement, smear the temporary inconvenience as human rights abuses, and smear the expression of some people as mass protest. They don't care about the human rights of the people in Xinjiang at all. However, on the other hand, they are trying to politicize and weaponize the COVID control in Xinjiang, disrupt Xinjiang's economic development, and violate the interests of the people and undermine the peace and security in Xinjiang. Such means are as vicious and ill intentions as despicable. And next, we will give the floor to the government officials, experts, and community workers to brief you on the relevant situation. First, I'll give the floor to Mr. Irzad Zada, Deputy Director General of Xinjiang Health Commission. Good afternoon. After Xinjiang was hit by COVID-19, we have taken some firm actions. We mainly focus on the goal of preventing spread and follow the dynamic zero COVID policy, and made all-out efforts to implement the tasks for COVID control. At present, the situations is basically steady, and the low-risk areas are starting to restore the normal work life. Next, I will brief you on the control of COVID-19 in Ili Kazakh Autonomous Prefecture. First, taken efforts to increase the PCR testing capacity. We know that very important measure is PCR testing. We have taken scientific and standardized approaches to all phases in the testing. And we have designated special persons at every lab. We have improved the testing strategies and adjust the testing tasks for labs in accordance with the real situation. We have worked with the telecom operators to establish a system based on information to improve the effectiveness. We have increased the capacity of PCR testing, and at present in Ili Kazakh Autonomous Prefecture, 641,000 tubes per day can be reached. And second, we have stepped up the epidemiological investigation. It is like a race with the virus and see who is faster. So in Ili, we have mobilized the resources of multiple departments and formed a 200-person working group across the board. And also we have 65 emergency testing teams. And for every positive result, we follow the whole chain of investigation, transfer, quarantine, and treatment. In rural areas, this takes about 10 hours, and in urban areas, about 8 hours. And by means of building new quarantine centers, putting up tents, we have increased the capacity of quarantine centers, and we have continued efforts in this area. So that the people in quarantine centers can receive standardized treatment and protection. Also, we have done a lot to ensure health monitoring, transferring, quarantining, and psychological counseling. Third, we have carried out scientific medical treatment. There are 8 teams and 830 doctors. This whole team has taken over the designated hospitals and adopts remote diagnosis with other hospitals in Xinjiang to provide the best treatment for patients. We have built 3 new ad hoc hospitals with over 2,500 beds. There are altogether over 4,000 beds in designated and ad hoc hospitals in Ili. We have improved the standards for admission, treatment, and discharging at the designated hospitals and ad hoc hospitals. Fourth, we have safeguarded the normal medical needs of people, including online diagnosis and counseling. We have formed 33 medical teams to provide timely diagnosis and treatment for the patients with mild infections. We have 2 hospitals designated for people from high-risk areas and medium-risk areas. And 6 regular hospitals are designated for the people from low-risk areas. And in this way, we have targeted measures for people from different areas to safeguard the normal medical needs of the people. And also, there are 9 ad hoc HD hospitals who meet the need of relevant patients during COVID-19. And that's all from me. Thank you very much. Next, I'll give the floor to Mr. Ni Mingjian, the Chief Expert of Xinjiang CDC. Good afternoon. And next, I will brief you on Xinjiang, especially Ili Kazakh Autonomous Prefecture, and on the COVID situation at the moment. Generally speaking, it has the following features. First, the high infectiousness. We have noticed that in this wave of COVID, it is highly infectious. The average incubation period is only 2 to 3 days. Some infections will already take place before a positive result is reported. For instance, in Yining City, the static management was in place since early August. On August the 18th, a community volunteer in the neighborhood was tested positive, and 2 days later, his neighbor also tested positive. On the 21st, the neighborhood reported 16 positive results, especially in the same building of the first infected and the second being infected. And second, it's a quick spread. Compared to previous waves, the spread of the virus this time is much quicker. 7 days after the first reported cases, it has affected 4 prefectures and 6 counties, and there are altogether 153 infections reported. 14 days after the first case, 13 prefectures and 31 counties were affected, with a total infection of 1,666. By the 16th of September, there are altogether 5.4 thousand infections. For instance, on the 5th of August, a village in Yining found 1 infection. Within 3 days, his 3 close contacts, 5 sub-close contacts, and 5 regular contacts have been tested positive. By the 11th of August, the same village found 35 infections on the same chain of spread. Also, for example, on the 8th of August, there is a lane in Yining, and there was a pair of sisters who started home quarantine for contacting a person tested positive. And on the 9th, they tested positive. On the 13th, the lane was tested positive. And from the 14th to 19th, that lane and the neighboring lane tested positive for 21 people. Third, the infections are mainly asymptomatic. So far, Xinjiang has reported 153 confirmed cases, accounting for 2.8% of the total infection, and they are mainly mild or regular infections. The rest of the people are asymptomatic infections. And fourth, there are multiple chains of spread. At the beginning of the spread, we have discovered 4 chains of the BA 5.2 of Omicron variant, and there is no clear epidemiological connections between the chains. With development of COVID, we have seen more chains. There is a complex connections between the chains. At present, the situation of COVID-19 in Xinjiang is basically steady with clear effects. The number of new infections continue to drop. By yesterday, among the 13 prefectures affected, 7 have not reported a single local infection for over 14 days. And most affected counties have basically restored the normal work and life. And that's all from me. And thank you for your introduction. And next, we'll give the floor to Mr. Yeshat Tursunbayat, Governor of Ili Kazakh Autonomous Prefecture. Good afternoon. Since the onset of COVID-19, Ili Kazakh Autonomous Prefecture has pursued preventing the imported cases and domestic resurgence, and the dynamic zero COVID policy. We have formed a joint working group and established an effective system for timely response, and focus on key areas including PCR testing, quarantine, medical treatment, material supplies, and resolving people's concerns. At present, the situation is basically steady. The number of local infections continue to drop, and the area being affected has been narrowing. The restrictions are being lifted across the prefecture, and life and work are returning to normal. Next, I will brief you on the relevant work. First, strengthen targeted measures. We closely follow the 9th edition of the Diagnostic and Therapeutic Protocols of the State Council Joint Prevention and Control Mechanism, and designate and adjust the high, middle, medium, and low-risk areas. And for high-risk areas, and we have door-to-door services, and in medium-risk areas, we have staggering collection of goods, and in low-risk areas, we encourage personal protection. In this targeted measure, we have protected the health and safety of the people to the largest extent. Second, strengthen livelihood protection. We take all-out efforts to ensure the logistics, supply, and the basic livelihood so as to minimize the impact of COVID on the socio-economic development. We ensure the reserve of daily necessities and medical supplies, and set up systems of agricultural production capacity, daily reports, and daily necessity supply. We have established a systematic plan to ensure the supply during COVID-19, opened 9 major supermarkets, and ensured the operation of major agricultural product retailing market. By means of online ordering and offline delivery, we have restored the shops and vegetable shops in the neighborhoods once the restrictions are lifted, and to ensure the full supply and steady prices. Over 40 million yuan has been allocated by the prefecture for helping the people in need, and also to resolve the critical concerns of people of different ethnic groups. Third, promote steady and orderly lifting of restrictions. For neighborhoods with no infections in 10 days and no problems occurring in 2 rounds of universal PCR testing, there will be lifted restrictions once being approved. Fourth, strengthen requirement response. We give full play to the national and regional online government services platforms and opened 100 remote answering seats to answer the calls and applications online, for instance, from the mobile phones. We have strengthened the staff for hotline answering at primary levels, improved the system of requirements response, and upgrade its effectiveness and quality to timely answer the people's concerns. Fifth, coordinates COVID response and economic and social development, and coordinate development security. We focus on all sectors, including agricultural production, project construction, and economic development. We are striving to regain the time lost and also minimize the loss caused by COVID-19. At present, the situation of COVID response is generally steady. However, due to the complexity in this wave of outbreak, we still face huge challenges. And next, we will strengthen the implementation of relevant policies to realize the goal of dynamic zero COVID to restore normal work and life as soon as possible. That's all from me. Thank you. And also thank you, Governor. And I would also like to extend my heartfelt thanks for your efforts in combating the virus. And we sincerely hope that the COVID-19 can end as soon as possible in Italy, and you can restore to normal worker life as soon as possible. Thank you and goodbye. Next, we will have the president of Italy Women's Federation, Ms. Altagul Juma, to talk about the protection and care for women and children. Good afternoon. We know that the Women's Federation has played an important role this time because you are connecting thousands of children and women, and also a lot of families. And next, please brief us on your efforts at the Women's Federation and during this COVID-19 response. First, thank you very much for your support in our work. Since the onset of COVID-19, the Italy Women's Federation has focused on the caring of special groups, especially the women and children. In terms of helping the families after the COVID happened, the over 15,000 officials and volunteers at primary levels have gone to the local communities and villages. They have given full play to their familiarity in the local situation to gain timely information on the living conditions of some women and children in the families in need, and work with other forces to help resolve their difficulties. And also we take an online approach to offer care, family education, and mental and physical health courses, provides guidance on family services, especially during the special times. And Ms. President, I understand there is a hotline of 12338. So what has the hotline done during your response to COVID-19? And how did you make use of the hotline to help the children? So in terms of safeguarding the legitimate rights and interests of women and children, we have given full play to this hotline to improve the channel for safeguarding interests. For some more complex situations, we turn to the local communities for relevant information at the earliest moment possible. And also we have regular psychological counseling, mediation, legal assistance, and also health guidance and many other services during this time to minimize the kind of panic and anxiety of the women and children during COVID. So thank you, Ms. President. Because of the COVID-19, you have probably engaged with many women and children, and we understand you have done your own share and made much effort. So what is the most impressive thing you encountered during this time? One thing is that recently a community received a call from a resident who was very excited because his wife was about to give birth to the baby. So it was a really critical moment. So after answering the call, our community workers asked for a car as soon as possible to transfer the lady to hospital and open up a green lane. Within 30 minutes, we would have to take the lady to the hospital. And 1 hour later, the resident called back very happily, saying that his wife had just given birth to a daughter. So my feeling is that the government and the Women's Federation are all working tirelessly for safeguarding the rights of women and children. We haven't sit idle for a single moment. And I'm very impressed with this story, especially as someone from the Women's Federation. So thank you very much for your introduction. On hearing your experience, we are also quite moved. So many of the things you just talked about concern the critical interests of many families, and the Women's Federation has definitely played a pivotal role and won the support and understanding from the people. And also, I would like to say thank you to you and your colleagues. And also, you have meet the need of the people during the COVID's response. And once again, thank you very much. Thank you and goodbye. So from Friends for the Media, next we will have the Vice President of Yili Xinhua Hospital, Mr. Dilmurat Nurahmat. And he will talk about the timely admission of patients during COVID response. Good afternoon, Mr. President. Good afternoon. We're now holding a press conference. And we are introducing to friends from the media and people from all walks of life about the COVID response in Yili. So as someone from the hospital, you have definitely carried some huge responsibilities during this special period of time. And you have definitely a lot of feelings and experience. So please go ahead with your story. Good afternoon. I'm the Vice President of Yili Xinhua Hospital. My name is Dilmurat Nurahmat. I've been working as a doctor in Yili for 32 years. And all medical institutions in Yili have put people's life and health as a priority and spared no effort in saving the patients of all ethnic groups. Xinhua Hospital is mainly responsible for providing service for the people from medium and high-risk areas and people under medical observance and quarantine in quarantine centers. First, we have mobilized resources and redivided departments. Based on the functions and actual needs, we have redivided the departments and into emergency medicine, surgery, pediatrics, neonatology, HD room, and operation rooms, and set up isolation wards. For the people who come to the hospital, we closely follow the relevant standards and adopt whole process closed loop management. Since the 16th of August, we have received over 2,900 patients, including 167 to obstetrics, and given birth to many newborns. And treatment has been carried out in a steady and orderly manner. Second, we have provided high quality and classified diagnosis and treatment, including online and in-person treatment at the same time. We have put the reservation hotline and treatment procedures on the media, so the people can make online counseling and receive online treatment via the internet. And so far, we have provided online services for nearly 1.5 thousand people. And in terms of in-person treatment, the whole process is under closed-loop management. The patients will be transferred from their neighborhood or quarantine center to the hospital in a point-to-point manner. And after the treatment, they will be transferred back. And third, we have opened green lanes for critical and severe patients. For this kind of patients, and also patients needing operation, chemotherapy, and HD, and also pregnant women and infants, we have opened green lanes for timely rescue. We have also designated 4 areas, including 4 doctors and 16 nurses for hemodialysis patients to ensure their treatment. And fourth, we have strengthened convenient services and taken care of the medical staff. For the patients, we treat them like our own relevants. We provide them with free food, hot water, and also for the elderly and infants, blankets, quilts, and wheelchairs. During this time, our medical staff have also done very much. So we enhance our care for them to safeguard their rest and break. At present, they're all in a very good conditions. And that's all from me. Thank you. And thank you very much, Mr. President. And you have definitely done a great deal during this time. And we learned from your introduction that the task can be very complicated, and medical workers have stood at the front line and provided high quality medical resources and services to patients of all ethnic groups and safeguarding their rights and interests. So please allow me to say thank you to you and your colleagues. Thank you. Goodbye.
Well, friends from the media, now following that, we'd like to screen a video showing how the COVID response during this time, how the residents in the Xinjiang city, how they can access medical care.
我们是那个社会中心的，那个这个今天晚上打电话在你教学，然后你要不不学吗？
我就去一下。
我们今天晚上给你测一下。他们新的是吧？上课学分12.6，12.6，可以不是特别高的，那咱们按他血压比较高，可能有点焦虑，晚上休息不好跟有关系，对不对？持续先试一票啊。
好，持续的。我们老婆病了，我们打电话了，他快来了。
这个医院给我们安排吃住，给我们补充点营养，把点水果啊、牛奶啊这些东西，透析期间嘛，问长问短的，对我们照顾到家的，这个身体嘛一天比一天好一些。
当我们接到我们这个群众的困难诉求以后，我们立即给我们的街道上报，然后还有我们的社区的这个州级办公领导，他也是特别重视这件事情，然后也是积极的和上面的医院呀什么的对接，在咱们各医疗机构都没有在这个药品的情况下呢，紧急和咱们这个医药公司取得联系以后呢，终于把这个药品呢找到了，然后呢是在咱们9月6日的上午把这个针剂呢已经打上了。
在医疗组、新华医院、社区的沟通协调下，我家孩子已于9月6日注射完该针剂，在此向你们说声感谢。
始就出现我那个身体的状况以后，给他们打电话，他们就半个小时给我安排了个车，然后直接过来了。但是好像做完了就直接进去。现在安排不用了。
我所在的小区呢，也属于这个中高风险小区。那么之前也是给社区进行了报备。那么当天来的时候呢，也是第一时间给社区拨打了电话。社区非常及时的把车停在了楼下，然后送我们去这个黄马医院。
医院的护士对我照顾的特别周到，对我特别好，按时在，按时分开水，然后按时送那个生活用品，还有按时护理。我这边非常满意你们的服务和操作。
我们为了减少他们在医院这个逗留时间，减少他们这个就诊时间，就基本上24小时来了就看。
With that, now we are going to connect Executive Mayor of Yinning City, Mr. Chow, to introduce to us how the city is handling its COVID response. And greetings to all of you. Thank you for taking time out for this press conference as Executive Mayor of the city. So your job actually matters to every resident in the city. During this pandemic, what are the problems that you have encountered, and what are the measures you have taken to address people's difficulties and concerns? Thank you. Thank you for all of your attention and support for us. And since we were struck by COVID-19, we have concentrated efforts on issues that are to people's immediate concerns, like insurance supplies, supply chain stability. First, we try to ensure set up place a kind of telephone line connection, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 being connected between the prefecture level and the county level. And we also set up a county and a township level hotlines receiving calls from people. And we have supplemented a large number of people receiving those calls and to solicit people's demands and report it all the way up. And the second point is that we speed up the handling process, and we actually run about a 24-hour handling process by integrating this hotline as well as online, online comments. And if answers can be given right away, and we will do that. Otherwise, the request will be referred to relevant departments and with a time limit within attached. And for those very emergent things, that we will open up a fast track channel. And we also have set up a kind of revisit system in following up how these things are solved. And we will just feedback neighborhoods, the communities, and for those unsolved, and we will follow up follow through. And for those which could not be solved in the required time, that we will explain to the people, residents, carefully, patiently. On September 17, starting from the 0 o'clock to 24 hours clock, that we have received about 7,149 within calls, and about 6,300 of such calls or the problems reflected by these calls have been solved. And by doing so, we have smoothed the channels for people to voice their difficulties and their concerns, and improved the handling quality of these cases, especially those things that are emergent or immediate to people's immediate concerns and difficulties. Yes, as we understand that people are paying attention to and how people are going on with their day-to-day lives during this difficult time, and how these the supplies of necessities are ensured during this time. In terms of the supply of necessities, and first of all, we actually intensified our efforts in ensuring supply of necessities. We have established a kind of centralized distribution system with the largest within a market entity playing the leading role, and to ensure that the daily necessities are within provided and distributed to people. We have increased the supply stations and expanded the personnel, and supplemented the transportation within fleet. We have currently about 2,916 personnel for ensuring the supplies of necessities. As you know, the largest local market of farm produce resumes operating, and we can deliver about 260 tons of vegetables, and 250 tons of flour, and 50 tons of edible oil, and 65 tons of rice, and 30 tons of meat, and 20 tons of egg, and 31 tons of milk, and 50 tons of fruit. And what I like to particularly mention is that we have done everything to ensure the supply of necessities for the elderly people, as well as the supply of baby formula. Not long ago, that I read online that some netizens were worried that such large quantities of necessities are in need in the city. So how can you guarantee that you have enough sufficient reserves for such kind of supplies? Yes, that's indeed in terms of this population of the city, we have made efforts to expand our reserves. And every day we try to keep track of the quantities of daily necessities that are in need, and how they actually vary from day to day. And we have taken measures to enrich the varieties of commodities, stabilize the production and supply of daily necessities, such as grain and oil, fruit and vegetables. And so far that we have flour in reserve about over 2,000 tons, and 290 tons of oil. At the same time, we expanded import and buy and purchase from neighboring regions, so as to expand, the supply of necessities, try to ensure that they can reach our residents in a timely manner. And how to ensure, the quality of these necessities. Yes, we have stepped up, strengthened, and supervision and inspection of necessities, and at the same time, measures are taken to crack down on illegal acts such as price gouging and price fraud in accordance with the law. and expose typical cases of evil nature publicly to ensure stable prices. At present, we have checked 1,703 supply stations and handled 1,262 cases, and all of them have been solved, and with 61,130 yuan economic losses being avoided, and 27 cases of illegally price gouging and disruption of social order and selling expired food have been investigated and handled in accordance with the law. I'd like to know something about the vulnerable communities or vulnerable groups of people. For those groups of people, that they might have a lot more inconveniences in getting what they need. This is something that are of the concern of the public. What you have done in this regard? Yes, we attach great importance to ensuring the normal life for these people, especially during this pandemic period of time. Yes, we have intensified support for people with difficulties, and we take this work as a priority of our work, and given full play to the role of social relief in guaranteeing those groups of people's basic living and secure. And we have dispensed about 35 million subsistence allowances and allowances for the people in extreme conditions, and benefiting 66,000 people. And we have dispensed over 3 million within subsidies for those with disabilities and people above 80 years old, in which benefiting 29,123 people. And we have paid special attention to guarantee basic living of people with special difficulties and make sure that they can get vegetables and meat. And a total of 4,636 households have benefited from this in this regard. And we have delivered gift packets of Mid-Autumn Festival to 25,777 needy families. We have provided free daily necessities for families contracted the virus and returned to their homes from quarantine facilities. Thank you. Thank you for your information and the hard efforts you've been made. Thank you for that. I wish that the work in front of you in the days ahead be smoother, and I wish people and work and life in the city return to normal as soon as possible. And before the press conference, we have received a video which is about the supplies of the city.
现在正在紧急的对各网点加急配送，争取把所有的网点下的单子全部22点把任务完成好。
向全市乡镇的有氧保矿站保供站27个增加到13个，
不断充实周际应急储备物资，确保数量充足、质量合格、安全可靠，随时做好待命准备。
送的200
个菜是红色土豆，还有大蒜，还有红萝卜，给我们送的。
我们会将这些羊肉第一时间送到各个需要的这个穷者手中，让他们在家跟我们一起这个战胜疫情，渡过难关。
你再给我说一下你这个街道、小区、门牌号。
把你的诉求告诉我，我们给你配完了以后送哦。
一共有10个人在这里进行配送。每一天呢，我们接到了这个客户宝妈打来的电话以后呢，我们都会在第一时间，认真负责的给他们把货品配好、打包好，然后呢，由我们的司机呢划分好的一个片区了以后呢，及时的送到宝妈的手里。
今天收到了政府发的免费的菜包，很高兴。
就是我是让大家都是我收到了社区送来的菜心大礼包，真的非常高兴。今天这个大礼包里面的肉和菜，我们做了家常拌面吃。
吃的水果，还有方便面或者加啥都有。
当我介绍到这个蔬菜的那一瞬间，我非常的感动，我觉得世间充满了温暖。
Thank you. And now we connect community director of the Didlik community from the Doletbag of the Indian city, and hearing more from her about the community's within the involvement in the COVID response. Now we are now holding a press conference about the Indian's COVID response. Particularly how that people's needs are met during this special time. You know that as a community director, you've done a lot of work, so we would like to hear more from you. Tell us something more about your community. How many households in there, and how many people? We have a total of 1,300 something people living in this community. It's a kind of medium-sized community. What you have done, in these days, during this COVID time, we have remained at our posts and served our people, and we have set up a supplies delivery team, vegetables, dairy products, pharmacy, drugs, and the people in our community who need medicine, that we will deliver medicine to them. And for those who need in-person medical care at a hospital, we are responsible for transporting them to get the treatment. And for those elderly people living alone in our community, and we actually provide them with necessities in timely manner. So there is no such thing that residents in our community faces such a situation that they have no access to necessities. I believe that if we work together in a concerted manner, that we will finally prevail over the pandemic, and we will quickly return to the life before. Yeah, just like as you said, that we hope that things will return normal as quickly as possible. And they kind of information in circulating on internet says that children in your community have a difficulty in seeking medical care. Is this kind of true information, or do you have anything to verify for us? Yes, it is reported. It kind of circulating on the website saying that children in our community having difficulty in seeking medical. It is the family actually lives on the 11th alley of the Kashgar city of our community. And when we know the situation, and we bought medicine and delivered that to her home. And at the same, we called the emergency, and the doctors came to her family immediately. And after the child took medicine and the fever is quickly brought down. And after that, their mother said that there's no need to go to hospital. And our community workers also left her, and doctors left her with their telephone numbers and WeChat accounts, WeChat contacts, saying that if there's anything they need, please contact. So far that the children are in stable condition, and they are now living a stable life, have no worries about the physical health of their children. We know that community work is very trivial and need a lot of attention and effort. Please stay safe and make. Thank you. Before this press conference, Community Director Sanem also recommended us, shared us with a short video about, the 3 children who are now recovered. Thank you. Seeing the children happily was in a plane happily and live in good health, and we feel delighted for them. We hope that the family have even better life. So after seeing, this video, I believe that your worries are cleared. Now we are going to invite Chief Physician Ilajan Hongjiang from the Department of Respiratory of Xinjiang Children's Hospital, and telling us about her kind of experience in the recent days. When we contacted him earlier on, and he said that he received and treated a child from the Yinin city, and it's being a very challenging kind of within time. I'm Ilajan Hongjiang, Chief Physician of the Department of Respiratory from the Xinjiang Children's Hospital. And I believe during this pandemic that all hospitals in Xinjiang have upheld the principle of putting people and their lives first and carefully treating each patient. Today I'd like to share a story about treating a 3-year-old child from the Yining city. August 20, and resident Alia Klim left a message on the Pomegranate Cloud Government Service platform seeking help for her child, saying that her child was 3 years old and was diagnosed with a lung disease when this child was born 29 years after 20 days after his birth, and the child is in urgent need of medical care. And at that time, the reporter from the Xinjiang Delhi contacted the Yining municipal government as well as our hospital, and the expert of our hospital recommended the child be transferred and treated in our hospital. And the Yining COVID response command overnight gave the case the clearance and is enabling this child to be transported and transferred to our hospital. Yes, our hospital took this case very seriously, and we have mobilized resources from multi-departments, including the respiratory department and fever clinic, operating theater and critical care medicine and pharmacy, so as to make arrangements for the receiving and the treatment of this child. And after treatment, the child was getting better and better. And now we are going to actually visit this child. When the child was admitted to the hospital, he was in very serious condition and a lot of symptoms showing that he was in a dire, severe condition. After diagnosis, we find that he was contracted with severe lung infection and respiratory failure. And we actually come up with a safe and efficient treatment plan and applied treatment on him. After 1 week treatment, the child was transferred to an ordinary ward. He is now in stable condition. And I believe in these days and he will be leaving the hospital if all things are going well with him. Oh, this is the child's mother. I'm Alia Karim. I'm a resident of the Tashkariq township of Yining city. Actually, I asked for help on August 20 on a government service platform. And quickly, I received help and response from the Yining city government and the hospital. And on with a 21st August, we were on an ambulance on the way to Urumqi and arrived at the Xinjiang Children's Hospital for treatment. We are now living in this hospital, actually. We are very thankful to all what they've done to us, especially to the medical staff and doctors at the children's hospital. So you can see the child is in very good condition. And that's roughly what I have for you for now. Doctor, as well as mother, thank you for sharing your experience with us, seeing the 3-year-old boy playing and having his fun time, and we are happy for that. Thank you. Thanks to the medical staff, medics, as well as to the governments of Yining and Urumqi for your joint efforts. That really makes this come true. friends from the media. And during this COVID time, especially, during this static management period of time, and then how people's lives are insured, how they spend their days. And now we are now going to have a video link with another family in Yining City. And now the family that we're going to visit is on the is in Yining City. Hello, Zulkadam Mamuk. We're now having a press conference about Xinjiang's response to the COVID-19 situation here. And we are curious about it. We're interested in knowing more about how you go with your day-to-day life during this period. And thank you for agreeing taking our interview. There are 4 people in my family, my mother and my 2 children, my 2 daughters. We 4 are at home. The elder is 9 years old, the younger is 7 years old. So they actually are primary school students. Due to, this COVID situation, so school might not be open at that time. How do they go their everyday study? Yes, they have their virtual classes every day. How old are you, madam? Oh, your mom, 76 years old. Your mom, my mom, is, how about her health? Yes, well, roughly good. She actually has high blood pressure and some other kind of heart ailments. So go shopping is something that cannot be done, this time. How do you go with your shopping for necessities? The community workers help us with that, like, flour, rice, oil, vegetables, and fruits, whatever we need. The community workers are more than willing to help us. We send them information through WeChat or short text messages, so they deliver these stuff to us. What about your mom if she needs medical care? Yes, as I told her, she has heart ailments and high blood pressure. Yeah, as we actually get contact the pharmacies, and the community workers will get the medicines we need from the pharmacies. And they saved us, served us with every effort. Under this static management, how do you feel about your life? Yes, I believe you stay very confident. Yes, I'm confident every day. I take care of my mother and 2 daughters and cooking for them. I think this is time that I spend all of my time with them, and because they are having classes online, I tutor them with their homework. Every day is pretty full for me, actually. And community workers is infected the community every day, and conduct the COVID test for us and the delivery necessity and goods for us, as well taking elderly people living alone. And we feel very touched by what the community workers and have done. We hope that the COVID situation can come to an end quickly, and we can return to normal lives as soon as possible. Thank you. And I can understand you. I don't. And thank you for the understanding for these measures taken during this time, and thank you for understanding and cooperation for the work that the community has done, is doing. Hope everything goes well with you, with your family. We hope that through our joint concerted efforts that we can prevail over the pandemic and return back to our normal days. Thank you.